Hey everyone, welcome back to the RePHIL studio. This is your host SBPhilOS4. This is your weekly Bang Dream podcast giving you the best up-to-date information and insight on upcoming news and updates to the game and franchise, as well as give you some perspectives from prominent community members to learn more about their experiences and stories in the game. Check out our website, links in the description below to learn more how you can support the podcast, either through joining the YouTube membership program or by subbing to my Twitch channel. And of course, all of our special guests in this podcast can be found in the Unga Academy Discord server, where you could also ask questions to our guests prior to the recordings and hear your questions being answered live. So we have another special guest coming in very soon. It's going to be really exciting to have him join us. And also, we have some pretty interesting news coming up about the game as well as the franchise in both JP and EN. So let's get right into it. Weekly News Corner time. All right. So JPdori, as I've talked about in a few updates and videos already, but the Hololive collab is happening right now, featuring Pasta Palettes and Aqua, Hello Happy World and Fubuki, and Poppin' Party with Toki no Sora. So again, there's 3 cover songs covered by those bands plus the Hololive members, as well as costumes. And all you have to do is just log into the game to get the costumes for each of the 5 characters from each of the 3 bands. So definitely log in if you have JPdori and just check out the collab. It's a pretty fun time there. People have been asking me on whether or not it's going to come to EN and exactly when. We'll talk about scheduling issues and such with ENdori in a little bit, but again, I can't say when. I know it's probably going to be sometime next year, but I could say with relative confidence that it will eventually come to ENdori. It seems like there has been some licensing agreement between Hololive and Bushiroad, as seen in EN D4DJ, where the Hololive collab actually came to the game after some strange hiccups. But I'm pretty confident that it will be in ENdori. Exactly when, we'll never know, but maybe sometime next year. So I could say that with a bit more confidence compared to another collab that may have not happened in ENdori yet. But that's the news for the time being. And as well, the current event is a challenge live. Even if we were reborn 100 times over, it features a childhood story arc between Tai and Layer, and it's a pretty touching story for sure. So definitely check it out. It kind of follows a bit of expanding a bit on the anime, which is really nice. And speaking of the anime, the song Nakanai Nakanai that came from the anime is now actually in the game. So first time it's actually in the game, and you'll have a game version of that. So definitely check out that event if you haven't done so already. It's a pretty nice event. Now, as I sort of maybe I haven't talked about this too much, but in terms of JPdori, we all kind of have an idea of what's generally going to happen in the next few events. There has to be some sort of mixed event that features one Afterglow member, because we know Venom, the cover song, is coming out, which also ties into the cover collection, which is coming out in November. So that event has to happen before the cover collection comes out. So expect a mixed event sometime between now and November, I think 10th. That features an Afterglow member. And also, we're relatively overdue for a new full Pasta Palettes event, as well as a full Roselia event. It's been a couple of months, so those are probably going to be the next 3 events in line in some order. So definitely look forward to that. So JPdori, very smooth. Everything is looking very good. ENdori, we're back to this discussion again. So the current event at the time of this recording is now going to be No Limit, another Raise of Suilan event. And I guess in terms of the quote-unquote schedule, it does follow after the Morphonica event. Now this event is only 5 days, which is, again, it's another new precedent where EN Bushiroad is not shy of making events incredibly short for whatever reason. So you only have 5 days to do what you need to do to tier for the event, or get the gacha, or get your event rewards, whatever, whatnot. It's a little bit of a time crunch, and some people may not be a little bit a bit upset about that. But I think, again, what's generally a bit more upsetting is the fact that we still don't have news about Bandori 3 Afterglow and the Hello Happy World Do-Re-Mi collab. It's, again, another sign that ENdori has a lot of internal issues. And there has been a lot of rumors sparking around, like, oh, what exactly is going on, right? I don't want to be that guy to spread rumors that don't have a lot of base behind it. But I'm just gonna say that again. I just want to stress this point again. If you wanted to shorten events but didn't have the resources or capacities or permissions to do it, of course, you're going to be bumping into these problems. So again, this 5-day event is especially a little bit troublesome. Like, that's super weird to me, for me in particular, when they're already having issues trying to get things done on time, and making events shorter so that you don't have as much downtime to actually prepare is a bit contradictory to me. But this could be a sign. Maybe the update's ready. Maybe one of us will be out there, and again, we'll know that either one of us or the Hello Happy collab is going to be out if we see promotional material, right? If maybe it's like day 4 or day 5 of No Limit and we don't see any promotional material for Afterglow, we know that's not going to be coming up, because they want to promote it. They want to give time in advance to prepare and be like, oh yeah, this is the 4-star Himari card, this is the 4-star Ron card, blah blah blah, right? So if you don't see any promotional material for it, just expect that event to not happen. So that means, right, if No Limit it finishes and one of us or the Hello Happy collab does not happen, what now, right? What now? So again, I mentioned in my previous podcast that Prismatic Duo in the JP version came with a universal game update that sort of upgraded a bunch of things, had a bunch of quality of life changes. I can't say for certain if Prismatic Duo actually requires this update to process. So, if it doesn't, then that's going to be the next event if there's still no news on one of us, which is pretty funny. Doing a Christmas event in Halloween. People have been complaining about that, but let's be honest, guys, that's not really like the most valid kind of excuse or reason to be upset about it. Like, I know, I'm not defending ENdori at all. I think having a schedule is very nice, and they should follow a schedule, and doing all this wacky business is not good. But even in the Korean server, they're always super out of sync, right? They've had New Year's events happen in April or whatever, or their time sync is not exactly 1 year away from JP, so they always have some really weird events happen at their different times. It's funny that I talk about the Korean server because the Korean server just finished No Limit not too long ago. So it's weird to think that we've caught up with the Korea server, where 2 years ago we were probably at least 8-9 events behind. So again, wacky things going on in ENdori right now. So to let you guys know, just to summarize, if there's no promotional material or no news about the update happening soon, then we could expect the next event after No Limit to be Prismatic Duo. Or if Prismatic Duo also needs the update, then they might skip a few extra hopes and say, okay, well, we might put the Afterglow Challenge live or a New Year's event in October, which again is also kind of silly, but again, it's not necessarily I guess something that you should be sad about, because whatever, right? But again, if the update is out, then do expect one of us, do expect Prismatic Duo, and a lot of these high revenue generating events to come. So again, I want to just say in this issue, I think it's just really, really bad that ENdori is not following a schedule. Again, they technically have a slight point that they don't necessarily need to follow a schedule, but the way that they're handling it right now feels more like an excuse, right? They've been following this schedule for the past 3 years, and only once they realize that they're incompetent and unable to do the shortening events update as they wish to do, from a business perspective, and maybe to some community opinions, but again, I've seen mostly negative opinions about these shortening events. Either way, if you're unable to do that and unable to deliver on that promise, why would you even offer it, right? Why would you even offer that option to people if you know that you're going to be incompetent, unable to do that? And then now going back to, oh, schedule was never a thing, and use that as an excuse is pretty. It's not a good look to the consumers. The consumers are definitely pretty upset about that. And Bushiroad has shown that they don't really care about schedules, to be honest. Like, just look at ENd4DJ. Like, the events just kind of are mixed around like crazy. It's a mess over there as well. So it's definitely within the company. There's some weird internal issues there. And speaking of schedules as well, there's supposed to be a Miracle Ticket Gacha right now, which happened around the same time as Prismatic Duo. But instead, they're doing an 8 million download celebration gacha where you could get one guaranteed 4-star member, which, again, it's paid stars, and people, it's pretty good at first, but then you realize especially for people who spend quite a bit of money and already have a lot of 4 stars, the chances of getting a duplicate in that gacha when it's like completely random is pretty high, and thus it's kind of a waste. Whereas the Miracle Ticket will basically guarantee that you could choose one 4-star that you like. And again, this gacha does not have a Miracle Ticket. That is another blow. And of course, it also shows that they're not following the schedule, because it's supposed to happen around this time. But clearly they have other priorities, and that's not good. And just to add one more insult to injury, at the time of this recording, I'm actually recording this on Himari's birthday. So in the game, there's the Himari birthday banner. It has the One of Us Himari card as the graphic, where you can't even get that card in that banner, which is pretty ridiculous. I don't know if ENdori is also trying to be like sassy back with us, but if that's the case, that's just not very professional. That's not a good look for a company. So again, I'll keep you all updated if there's any updates that I find about what's going on in these developments. I don't want to spread misinformation about what's going on, but I'm just gonna let you all know, my opinion and what I feel, and just kind of try to keep it as objective as possible. Obviously, I'm still gonna criticize Bushiroad and make sure to hold them accountable, but those are just at least my thoughts. So again, let me know in the comments what you guys think about, again, what's going on in the schedule and other updates that you notice or want to see or want to talk about. But yeah, that's all really I have to say about ENdori. And again, would I be surprised if there's an extension of No Limit to go from 5 days to 12 days to give more time for themselves to the update? Probably not. I wouldn't be surprised at all, but we'll see. We'll see what ENdori does. But yeah, let's hop onto the other side of the studio. Our special guest is waiting, and we'll see you there, and looking forward to a really fun conversation with our guest. Want to support the RePHIL studio? Check out our website. Links in the description below. Here you can learn more about the podcast as a whole, as well as complete our feedback form to give comments about how we can improve the project, as well as suggest any future special guests that you would like to see on the studio. You can also learn more about how you could support the podcast by joining the Filler Nation, either through a Twitch subscription or joining the YouTube membership below. Thanks again to the Filler Nation members for your constant support, and a reminder that all Filler Nation members can access the podcast live when they are recording in the Unga Academy Discord server. We hope to see you there. All right, everyone, welcome back to the studio. Let us refill to 99, because in this set we have the great pleasure of having our special guest HomieDixon joining us for the refill studio today. And Homie, again, great pleasure having you today. It's a great honor to have you in the studio.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. It was very flattering that you sent an invite. I was looking forward to being on here since you announced it on Twitter, but I never wanted to impose and just ask for an invite,
Well, here you are, homie, and I know a lot of people are very familiar with you in the community, just as one of the many achievements you got, including recently, I think it was top 10 in Viva La Live. But if there's any other achievements you would like to share or add to your introduction to those who are not familiar with you.
Well, I just play a whole lot of these tappy tap games, and I got top three using Baby Shark and Nyan Cat for when those songs were out and they had a versus live running. Other than that, nothing else really comes close.
Well, we'll definitely talk about your tiering experiences, especially with your very intricate way of tiering and the song choices. But you say you really love tappity tap games, so maybe elaborate on that a bit more. So, what kind of got you into tappity tap games and eventually into this game called Bang Dream Girls Band Party?
Well, it all started way back in the day with a little game called Guitar Hero 2.
Mm-hmm.
I got it on the Xbox 360 for Christmas. This it would have been, geez, I don't remember when that came out.
Mm-hmm.
Over a decade ago at the very least, probably like 15 years. Um, and I I've been a casual fan of rhythm games ever since then. But didn't start getting into the idle versions until I think it was School Idol Festival. I got that in late 2015, and then I've been stuck ever since.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And as for Bandori, would was Love Live a bit of a influence to get in there?
Um, well, it's kind of strange because I was just searching through the App Store
Mm-hmm.
one day, and I was really bored and just looking through all the like most popular music games, and Bang Dream just happened to be on there. And when I downloaded it, I think it was about 24 hours after the Sakura blooming party started on JP. So I just happened to get into it really early.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just stumbled onto it.
Interesting, interesting. So yeah, you as many people in the community already know, you're definitely one of the big veteran players in this game that you've been playing for a very long time. So it's obviously really nice to see that to this day, at least to some certain extent, you still play the game from time to time. And you know do you have a before we talk about other topics, do you have a favorite band or a favorite character? I actually don't know if that's a well-known topic or a well-known knowledge to other people in the community.
Well, a favorite character would definitely be um, Pareo.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but when it comes to like a favorite band, I I've got nothing.
Mm.
I like them all just about the same. Um, I don't really have like a least favorite character. There's just all the bands and the characters for the most part are just lumped together into the good category, and I like them.
Well, that makes your opinion not very controversial. No one's gonna,
Yeah.
go for your throat and be like, "Oh man, you don't like this character, or you don't like this band." Playing it safe. I like that. I respect that.
Yeah, I'll try to avoid going into who the candidates for the least favorite would be. I'd rather avoid that.
For sure, for sure. Well, homie, again, you've been in the game for a very long time. Now, what first convinced you to get into tiering? Because we've talked about it a little bit about your tiering achievements, but how did you first get into tiering?
Well, that would have started with the School Idol Festival.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I didn't play it for a really long time, like all these people out here that are level 1,000 and whatever people are up to nowadays. I had a good couple months where I was doing all the score matches, and I don't even remember what the token events were called. I think they might have just been token events.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I just liked going for the tier 1 or 2 um cutoffs in that game, and then occasionally, if I had nothing better to do, I would try to get like top 100. Um, but there was I think it was a Nozomi score match in like early 2016 that I I had nothing going on for an entire week, and I ended up getting ninth place in that one. And I mean, after that, I really didn't tier in that game ever again. I think I was kind of burned out on it after that. Um, but when this new game that I had found um, seemed really interesting, I thought I'd wait until the worldwide version comes out because it seemed pretty obvious. I could tell by how many people were playing that it was a very popular game. Um, that I would try to replicate what I had done in School Idol Festival and maybe go a little bit beyond that. Maybe I can get a couple easy top 100s and then I don't know, maybe a top 10 or two, and it just kind of snowballed from there.
Did you find tiering in Bandori to be a little bit of an easier experience compared to that one in School Idol Festival?
Um, I think I found it's hard to tell if it's easier or not,
Mm-hmm.
but I I think I enjoyed it more, so that made it feel easier. Um, Something about just, not having all the notes coming at you from like all these weird angles on the screen where like all the note paths are in like a semicircle in that game. Um, it's just everything's coming in a straight line. It makes it a lot easier. And I liked a lot of the songs, the cover songs. Um, so when I found out that Great Escape was like top meta for up until I think it was Kizuna Music came out, um, it when your favorite song is top meta, it just becomes really easy.
For sure. So, it's really interesting that you mentioned enjoying tiering, right? And I think in the old days, when tiering was first like starting to become a thing in Banduri, and that community was starting to grow. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a lot of it was sort of a bit more of a individualistic sort of approach where you're mostly kind of like tiering relatively by yourself. There may be some people out there from time to time to help you out, but it was mostly like a individual effort, like for the most part at the start. So was that sort of like what was that true? And is that something that you're used to? The fact that you tier solo pretty often.
As far as I could tell, um, most of the people in um, like like late spring, early summer 2018 were playing in public games, and the only way that I found out about the private games was during Remy's Gift of Song, which was like the third or fourth event. Um, I was in the top 10 for most of that. It was a short event though, and I started to send friend requests to all the people that were in top 10, and I ended up uh, sending one to, and I I really don't know how to pronounce the name, and that's going to be a common trend here. Um, uh, Zehel or whatever it is, Zehel. He's got a big Love Live and Band Dream following, but I think he mostly does Love Live stuff now. Um, he ended up in first place in that event, and he accepted my friend request. And um, on one of the last days of that event, I got a chance to join a friend invite,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw that he was playing, and then there were like three other people that I saw were either like in the top 10 or they were like all right almost there, like 11 through 15. So I assumed at first that it's because he had a fairly sizable following
Hmm.
on Twitter. Like he somehow got those people to play with him. Um, and over the next couple of events, when people started to add tags to their name, is only when I started to put together that like this isn't just one popular person. This is becoming like a thing where people are playing in the private rooms.
Hmm.
But it took uh, uh, I want to say probably until late summer, early fall before you really start to see a lot of the top spots being taken by um, people with matching tags in their names.
So yeah, it really because again you are a veteran in the scene and you really kind of seen how things have grown and changed, where you kind of slowly see the involvement or the of tiering servers and how that ended up being a thing to sort of help get people to work together to to get the goals that you want. Now, homie, again, you have experience, I think, both in tiering servers, you hosting a tiering server yourself, as well as,
Mhm.
possibly getting top 10 and sniping events without the help of a tiering server. And I think one event I think that comes to mind, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Play Act was one of them. Um, was it? I don't remember.
Uh,
I don't know if you even remember.
uh, I might need a reminder on what that one is.
That's Aya Chisato, VS Live, sometime in April.
Was it? It's not sounding familiar.
Okay, then maybe
Um,
not. I
oh boy.
it's funny because it's really interesting because like sometimes I find it actually quite difficult to find how many titles you have because you have so many. So I was kind of hoping that you would have a bit of that information, but I think you have a lot of titles as well, which is it's really good. It's really interesting that again you have a lot of these achievements that you have, homie. And but again, I do know that you have experience both in tiering servers and in terms of sniping. But like what would you say is like the difference in experiences? Because again, you've done both before. So can you elaborate a bit more about your experience both inside a tiering server and also maybe outside a tiering server, working mostly on your own?
Um, well, I think that there's one situation that I haven't really been in, and that's um, joining someone else's server to take a top 10 spot.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, what's happened is a couple days into the events, um, people will see that I'm hovering around the top 10 and they'll just end up inviting me to the server so we can talk about like if they're parking um, or if they just feel like saying hi. Because even if I'm going to be playing on my own, it's still really helpful to have communication with whatever servers are playing in that event.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't know what I'm up to and they don't, and I don't know what they're up to, we're just going to end up inflating the cutoffs to for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think that it is a very different experience where when you're playing on your own in public games, the most important things to do are keeping yourself entertained and keeping like a keeping your sights on like a long-term goal because you're going to be falling behind early on and it's likely going to be like that for at least a couple days where you know a lot of the top 10 people are going to be playing at the same time as you so you can
Mm-hmm.
play for like a 12-hour stretch and then when you go to check your ranking you dropped 2 spots So it the only way to really get used to that is with experience. Because early on, every time that would happen, it made me want to drop out of the events because it gets frustrating if I'm honest. Um, but just over time, you'll get used to it, and there are benefits to not using a server where I think the one that I like the most is just being able to take a break at any point without having to wait for one of the standby people to come and like take your spot because I wouldn't want to ruin the efficiency of all the other people in the room with me if I had to leave. And if I feel really bored of playing the same song and I want to play some Poppin'Shuffle or something, I I like having the ability to do that. But everyone's different. So if you've got a really busy schedule, then of course you're going to want to be playing the most efficient way possible. And I don't have any problem with that at all. It, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about like joining the like the voice calls for when people are like streaming movies in tiering servers or anything like that. I I mean, I just I joined them to talk to the people that are also tiering and then talk about where we're parking so we don't end up playing an extra 50 hours.
Yeah, it's again, I think your perspective of tiering is certainly quite unique, and it's something that I really appreciate. It's a really interesting opinion for sure. Just again, ultimately, it is about working together, and sometimes, right, if you want to make sure that you save on costs, or just don't put as much effort, like not put as much time on your health or your sleep schedule, to just make sure that everyone gets the goals they want, whether or not you're in a tiering server or not. And that's also a very interesting thing to do for sure. Homie, you did mention that sometimes you don't want to drag back the tiering server efficiency because they're going to be playing Unite from A to Z over and over again. And homie, I think you have a really big reputation of loving to play the song Poppin'Shuffle over and over again when you're tiering. So, and you also mentioned Great Escape as well. So, what is, I guess, your reasoning or justification for playing songs that are not Unite from A to Z, which which are less efficient, but you end up doing it anyway.
Well, I would say that Poppin'Shuffle is in a different league than any other anti-meta song I might vote for because anyone who played with me in Double Rainbow or let's see, what else would there have been? Viva Live, My Ideal, a lot of events that I played in will know that if I'm really tired and I do not want to be playing, if we get Poppin'Shuffle one time, I will be wide awake for at least an hour after that. I don't know what it is. I mean, the song's fine, but something about it just wakes me up and brings me back to life. Um, so so that doesn't happen with any other, anti-meta songs I might vote for. Um, when it comes to those, I think it's more important to be enjoying your time rather than doing what's most efficient, unless you're in a situation where you're in like a contested top one. Um, if if you're bored of playing the same song and you have one song you really like, there shouldn't be a problem with you playing that song. You might fall, 50 seconds behind or something, and you might get a slightly lower score, but you'll have enjoyed that song a lot more, and you'll be enjoying that experience more, and that'll make you want to play more. So that's one of the benefits of playing in the public rooms is, I mean, there'll be entire days where I'll just vote for random and I'll let, everyone else pick the songs, because that variety makes the tiering a lot easier to do over a long period of time. If an event was 24 hours long, then I wouldn't do that. But if it's going to be 10 days, you gotta do something to, enjoy what you're doing, because you're going to be spending a lot of time playing. And I just think it's really important to, keep your spirits up and try and have some fun, even if it means you have to play a little bit longer.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. It's funny. I think some of the people who might be listening, who are really like in on efficiency, might be screaming at the screen right now what you just mentioned. But again, it is important to also have that enjoyment, right? Tiering is a marathon, and you want to make sure that you have the motivation to continue, and sometimes you need a little bit of extra energy boost to get that happening. Some people shower, some people have Red Bull, and for HomieDixon is Poppin'Shuffle for whatever reason. But it's everyone has their own unique ways of trying to make sure they stay motivated, stay active to make sure that they get the goals that they want, and of course make it a fun experience overall. So Homie, you also briefly already kind of hinted at this, right? The fact that you were tiering using songs like Baby Shark and songs like what was the other one? Nyan Cat. When the event was happening. And I'm pretty sure, if I recall, Nyan Cat was during the Halloween Poppin' Party event, or was it Baby Shark? One of those. And that was like a 12-day event. So how did that experience go?
Well, if I'm going to be honest, for the Poppin' Halloween event, I had to switch off of Nyan Cat about halfway through. I was able to make it through Dance Full Blooming. I think that was 10 days with just Baby Shark, and then obviously I played the event song one time to get on the song rankings, but I don't think that really counts.
Yeah.
And to be clear, I didn't play those songs for every single game. I voted for them in every game, because this would have been in a versus live. So even if I had, I didn't have an option to do that in just a free live, and I didn't have like a group of 4 other people that were crazy enough to play only Baby Shark with me. But I the thing was that with Nyan Cat, I'm not great at the game, so if I'm starting to get a little tired, I will still be trying to do other things to keep myself awake, but there are times where I have to have the in-game sound on.
Oh no.
And I listen to a whole lot of that song. And people think that I noticed that the community as a whole was a lot more welcoming of Nyan Cat than they were of Baby Shark. Like if you look at the like to dislike ratios on when they announced them on the YouTube channels, I think every difficulty, the Baby Shark is more than 50% dislike.
Yep.
While Nyan Cat is pretty positive. Nyan Cat was not fun to play. I mean, obviously the song would get really repetitive, but just how it was charted, something about it felt really like sluggish,
Hmm.
um, and knowing that all I had to do was switch one screen over to play Hello Wink, it just was too tempting.
Hmm.
So I only got about 5, 6 days of Nyan Cat versus 10 days of Baby Shark.
Yeah, it's at least Nyan Cat was soft meta. It was soft meta, but
They were both
yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah, I think Baby Shark was pretty good too. Yeah, Baby Shark was decent as well. That's you know, the days those pubs during those events where Baby Shark and Young Cat were out were pretty treacherous. People would choose those songs pretty often, and it's a very interesting experience. So, homie, it's great to hear that you at least you survived one of them. The other one
I
didn't.
did my best for the
You
second one.
tried the other one your best, but ultimately, sometimes it's always good to mix up songs and just make sure that you don't burn out of playing the same song over and over again, whether it's Unite from A to Z or Nyan Cat. Before we switch topics, homie, is there like other than you already mentioned like Great Escape, that could be a song that you like to play, just because it was meta, now it's soft meta. Are there other songs that if you're kind of bored and you want to play a different song? Is there any other songs like during tiering that you like to lean towards?
Um, Typically I'll have favorited a lot of soft meta songs,
Mm-hmm.
um, or songs that were top meta at some point. So there's Great Escape, but there's also uh, Kizuna music is pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what's the Hello Happy World
Korekara?
Band Story 2.
Oh, I Need You.
Uh, yeah, I don't know I don't know how I forgot that one. I played in that event. Um, and it's the name of the event is I Need You, so
Mm-hmm.
it's a pretty strange one to blank on, but I've noticed that a lot of the songs that I like to switch to are ones that came out during events that I played in,
Mm.
like When the Flowers Bloom um, was I think it was either late July or early August 2018, and it's the one where Ring Dong Dance came out.
Mm.
Um, and that's, I think after Poppin'Shuffle, that's probably my next go-to. Um, and uh, I like Circling 5 Star, or just I think it's just Circling
Yeah,
Five
just
Star was
circling.
the
Yeah.
that was the event title.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, yeah, just a lot of like anything that's in the for song length, like between you know the high 130s or like a minute 30, low minute 40.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's pretty much what I like to go to, and then I'll just end up with a lobby of 3 people voting for Soul's Refrain. So even though it's the like the least meta song, I can't say I'm a big fan of playing it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. Well, again, it's always having a song that sort of represents you. There are some very notorious figures in the community. Again, homie, I'm pretty sure you're very associated with Poppin'Shuffle in this community. We also have our favorite pubber, new staff, who always chooses Great Escape in
Big
pubs.
fan.
Big fan. By the way, hope you're watching this podcast. Honestly, if I were to be in like some of that person's shoes, or like just be a rat, that one pubber that people would be known for the song, I hope maybe one day I'll eventually do it. I might be a Q My Flower spammer and just spam Q My Flower over and over again in pubs. But for the time being, we'll just play random and have some fun with pubs. So yeah,
Yeah, you got to start somewhere.
for sure. You got to start a reputation somewhere. So we'll see how things go there.
Yeah, today's the day.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Homie, let's talk a little bit more about your opinion and experiences in the tiering community, because again, you've tiered in the game since basically the very beginning. What would you say? If you could think off the top of your head, what would you say are the main differences? Tiering in the past, like 3 years ago versus tiering now. Like, what kind of differences you or similarities you see, as time passes.
Um, well, it seems like it's kind of gone in like there's been shifts
Mm-hmm.
for like what's been the most dominant um, way that people play. And, very early on for the first couple of events, you just had, if you look at the top 100 boards for the first couple events, it's just a bunch of, people's usernames, and that's all there is. And then you'll see about 80 initial Remy centers in those as well, because that was the only
Yep.
score, at least for the first event.
Yeah.
Um, and it once the tiering servers started to become more popular, um, my my big issue that I had with them started to um, sort of surface at that point, because I
Mm-hmm.
noticed that early on it was a lot more common than it is nowadays for all 10 spots in the top 10 to be the same group. And that's something I've never been a fan of.
Mm.
Um, and I'm really glad that nowadays, for the most part, unless it's like a contested event, and in that case, good luck pubbing into top 10 when there's two competing servers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but nowadays, if there's just one, they'll typically have their podium and then maybe 4 or 5 top 10 people. And then the last two spots will be open for maybe one of the top 100 players to move up, or for someone who's playing in the public games to take that spot. Um, and I feel like that's a lot better just for the game in general, because
Mm-hmm.
when like the vast majority of the people that play aren't going to be using the Discord tiering servers.
Mm-hmm.
There's tens of thousands of people in every event, and usually tiering servers have, I don't know, 150, 200 people, on the high end, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when all 10 of the top 10 spots are taken by these people that are, playing it in the private games, while like 99% of the people, you know, are playing just in the public games, I feel like it might seem a little demoralizing.
Mm-hmm.
That might be a little dramatic, but you know, it, it's it just it's nice to see that there'll be, like 8 people with matching tags, and then there'll be some guy who's like a 140 who's there in ninth, and you know, it's probably his first time tiering, and the event meant a lot to him, and he doesn't know about any of the wider tiering community. Um, so, the event meant a lot, and I like to see that nowadays people are just leaving more spots open, but that definitely didn't seem to be the case for, I'd say, from like late 2018 through up through Bandori 2.
Mm-hmm.
It was very common to see 10-person top 10 rosters. Um, and so it went from early on very few people in tiering servers to them being like very dominant over all the spots, to nowadays most of the spots, and yeah, just a big fan of the switch that has been made.
You bring a very interesting perspective, homie. I never really thought of it in that way, but yeah, it definitely makes sense, right? Giving an opportunity, encouraging some people out there who may not be as familiar with the game or not really familiar with the community, to give them a chance to show that they care about a particular event or character. It's definitely a very unique experience. Definitely to see some pubber, as we usually call them, right, be able to achieve a title, and maybe eventually they learn about tiering servers. Maybe that's just their one and done kind of event, but either way, it is a very unique way of seeing it. I also noticed that people also find it to be generally easier to manage smaller rosters. If you're trying to manage all 10 people, especially, it might get quite difficult for some people to manage all 10 people at once. So smaller rosters have definitely been a new normal, which I think for more reasons than one are a very healthy way of encouraging people to, of course, work together to tier, but also again have people get the opportunity to try tiering for yourselves. And again, it's just a very interesting kind of way of looking into tiering servers for sure. Just a reminder that all special guests featured in the RePHIL studio can be found in the Unga Academy Discord server. Links in the description below. Join our great community who's very passionate about Bandori, tiering, and many other interests. And we have weekly community events as well as contests for people to complete through challenges. Of course, all Filler Nation members can access the podcast live when they're recording in this Discord server as well. So we hope to see you there. Homie, I know you also have a very interesting opinion. I think you're also one of the individuals who say that in tiering servers we usually have roles, right? We have T1, T2, T3, like podium. You have T10, you have T100, and usually we kind of sneak in a T1000 before we have standby. Now, I think, homie, in the past you've mentioned you're not a big fan of the T1000 role. Is that right?
I would say that's. I have definitely said that. And I think I've come around on it since then.
Fair.
Because, I didn't really understand it. Because I even though I've done a lot of event tiering throughout the years, as I said a little while ago, when I end up joining the servers, I don't like to use the rooms to just play A to Z for the next 30 hours. I'll usually just stay in the general chat or talk to the game 1 or game 2 people. So and I hadn't hosted a server until RePHIL Alive, which was I can't remember if it started late April or early May of this year. So I didn't really understand why somebody would need to join a server to get a top 1000 title. It seemed like something that, at that point, you might as well just have the standby role, because you're not going to really be in a position where someone is pinging everybody because one of their top 1000 players really needs to get their title and they've fallen behind, but some people have explained to me, and I figured it out as I hosted, that there is a difference between the standby and the top 1000 roles. Standby is more for the people who are actively ready and wanting to fill for you, while if you're just top 1000, then you're just saying that's where you're hoping to end up, really. But it took a while for me to really understand that.
Yeah. Again, everyone, it's not, not just you, homie. Of course, a lot of people have very different ways of how they approach tiering servers. And, I personally like to see, like, these roles, like the T10, T100, T1000, be more like a role, again, as you just mentioned, to sort of establish, like, oh, what is this person trying to get, right? Now, in terms of like actually trying to get people to play in the rooms, I would personally would just strictly put it on standby, like, not have these, particular title roles be be pingable. But again, these roles will just be to help indicate, what is this person trying to get? Maybe try to motivate themselves to be like, okay, I want to go for this event, and this is what I kind of want to hope to achieve. And then the standby is just strictly for, just to make sure that, hey, if you want to be pinged for a room, you have the standby role to do it. So, again, everyone has very unique ways of doing tiering servers. I don't think there's any wrong or right way, but I think people are trying to figure out, or slowly trying to get a feel of what is ideal or optimal. I even personally thought of possibly having another separate role. Again, I haven't hosted a tiering server myself, but like possibly have another separate role specifically for firefighters, because I think for a lot of people, they find it really, maybe not necessarily the most. I mean, they appreciate it, but it's also like, well, if you're going to be here just to play your natural flames, play 3 games, it's not ideal. You would have to ping standby again and such, right? So, possibly having a role for specifically firefighters, so that, even if they're just like chilling and just having a good time, you just want to, play their 3 natural flames or their 9 natural flames in 3 games, and just ping a bunch of firefighters, and I'll just play 3 games and dip. They could do that as well. I don't know what you think about that, but that's that's like an example of some ideas that I've been kind of like jumping around.
Yeah, I think we would need to really get more people to, like, I don't think the firefighting is as common of a term that people would be familiar with as just like, top 100, top 1,000. But, over time, as you or as the community just starts using a term more, then it'll become more in like the public domain of like things everybody knows. And I mean, I certainly would never be in the firefighter's role, especially after hitting 300.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of times where I'm just sitting on 10 flames and thinking, man, I really got to get rid of these so I can go from 300 to 300.
Yeah. Yeah, you are a rank 300 in the game. One of a very, like, a little over a dozen people.
Yeah, it seems like this year there's been, when a lot of people have been starting to get it. There were the people who got it like back in 2019 who were like the top like echelon of tierers, like the Naboshis and Bin, Bobby, the people that were consistently getting like the craziest top ones and doing 50, 60-hour things that couldn't even imagine. And then I feel like very few people got to 300 in 2020. I think Kev's did in like December of that year, but off the top of my head, I can't think of anybody else that got it that year. And then it seems like in 2021, there's been like every other event, you see someone in the top 10 who's like a 298. And over the course of the event, they end up reaching it. So, it's not as small of a group as it used to be, but it's still, I mean, there's, if I had to guess, maybe like 20 or so people that have it. I don't really know at this point. We'd have to ask Pastry. I think he keeps track of all that kind of stuff.
Yep. He definitely keeps track of that. But again, it's really interesting to see that, a couple people are joining you in the 300 club, and that club is getting a little bit roomy. There's a lot of people joining in, and you're definitely not the only one now. So it's really interesting to see the community grow and all these player bases grow with all the experience they have. So very, very, very cool to see.
Yeah, I'm just hoping they don't catch up to me in coins. That's the one thing that really matters.
Hopefully, well, let's see if you can maintain that coin record. I don't know if you want to, share with everyone what's your coin record right now or your count.
I don't know if Kevs might have passed me because he got
No.
a top 10 recently, and I know he was the next closest, but I think right now I'm just slightly over 600 million, like 604.
Oh, Jesus.
But I think a lot of that's just because the most common event type that I play in are the versus lives.
Yeah.
And those give by far the most coins.
For sure. Well, hopefully you'll still have that record. Otherwise, I'll have to.
Yeah, now that I said it, it's not
otherwise, I'll have to bring
longer.
Kevs over here. I'll have to have him talk about his coin record. But yeah, Homie, one more question before we get some questions down from the viewers. But any future events, like is that something in your plan, like that you want to maybe tier an event in the future?
It's hard to say. For me personally, I don't like to plan out events really far ahead in advance because I just get really nervous about them then, and there's a lot of pressure that builds up. And every time there's been an event where like it gets announced on the JP server, and then immediately I'm thinking I want to play in this one. It almost always goes badly. I'll end up having to drop for one reason or another, and usually it's like at least partially stress related because I've been thinking about it for so long and trying to get myself ready. And it's a lot easier when if I'm in a position where I feel like playing. It feels like it's been a while since I've played in an event, and I'll look at the ones that are coming up soon, the next 4 or 5, and see if I have a good team for one, and if I think it's going to be contested, because if it is, I know to stay away from those. I'd rather, just play 5 days out of a 10-day event than, all 10 days and still like have a chance at ending up in 11th. But yeah, I don't like planning them too far in advance. But if I've had some people ask if I wanted to tier a couple of them with them, so it would just be like us and small group of people, and I'll be willing to do that. I think there's it's not a Halloween event, but there's like a spooky Roselia one that's coming up kind of soon that I think that might be the next one. But there's also a Project Sakai is coming out for the English version, and it's very tempting to move over there and see what I can do.
For sure. What about the upcoming team lives and medley lives, when at least the first couple of versions of these events are mostly done by yourself, without any private rooms? I don't know if you have some interest in those.
Yeah, definitely. When when it was first announced, some of the, I can't remember exactly who it was, but someone in one of the just casual servers I'm in, PTA, they immediately pinged me and wanted to tell me about it, and I couldn't believe it. I thought they were joking. Like an event where you can't play in a private lobby, and it's just you make your team and then everybody pubs like that. That's that's everything I've ever wanted. It, it's perfect. So, for the first one, I don't have a good team for it, and I'm not sure there's an easy way to make a good team for it.
Mhm.
It's like Power Morphonica or something, and
Yeah.
I've got like almost nothing for that. But I mean, I think it's going to be a lot of fun to play in those. Um, with everyone on like the same level pretty much is
Yeah.
everyone's going to have different team strengths of course, but not playing from behind immediately, I feel like that's going to be really just a great time. And I think it's also going to be fun to have a lot of people who really only tier in these servers if they've never tried to get like a public lobby only top 10. They won't be playing against tiering servers in this case,
Mhm.
but they'll see what it's like to play, maybe a couple thousand songs, you know, in public rooms. And I think it'll be fun to see how people react to that.
There's going to be a really interesting like storyline and dynamic, and I think it also for maybe people who are a little bit like bystanders watching from the outside, having things like, for instance, RNG possibly affecting how much you get scored or what songs are chosen or what what people are joining your team. It's going to be really interesting. It's going to be really exciting. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how that goes. And, if you do end up tiering those pub events, homie, all the best in that. Hopefully we'll see you on another one of those elusive T10 leaderboards, maybe. We'll see.
I wouldn't say it's unlikely. I would say
Okay.
there's a pretty good chance I'm not going anywhere.
All right. Well, now we're just gonna quickly, very briefly, go through some of the questions that our podcast viewers have asked you, and I'll be asking them on their behalf. And of course, for every podcast episode, if you want to ask any special questions to our guests, feel free to join the Discord server or just follow me on Twitter. You'll be able to ask the questions there, and you'll be able to get your answers on live in the podcast. So we have quite a few questions here. You've already answered a few already, like for instance, how you stay motivated in the game after playing for well over 3+ years. But is there anything else you want to add to that?
Um, I think what's been helpful was that I had a mentality early on that I'm very glad I've gotten over now, where I I would be really trying to um, like establish myself and like prove myself to the other people that are also tiering
Mm-hmm.
and want to want HomieDixon to be a name that people know.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that's something that I feel like a lot of people who would be tiering multiple events, would also have in common, but I feel like I had it to like a very unhealthy level. Like, this was my identity was I wanted to be one of these people that tears a lot. And, if I end up getting bullied or something, it's like a personal thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that for a while I had a very unhealthy obsession with all of that. Um, so you know, that's partially why, I would I would take a break at sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
but I would always be coming back because I felt like, you know, I still have more I should do. Um, you know, I, there's always someone else you can like look up to and see like, well, look at all the things they've done versus what I've done, and I need to try and catch up to them.
For sure.
And even nowadays, I still don't have that elusive top one. It's been not for lack of trying, just hasn't come home yet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but uh, I think I mean, that unhealthy motivation is really what helped early on.
Hmm.
And then nowadays, if I'm going to be playing in an event, it's just going to be because I'm bored and feel like it, or someone asked me to, and I want to help out.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Have that early competitive spirit, and now it's sort of like helping other people. Whatever it is with your motivation to play the game for so long. It's worked for sure. It's worked
Yeah,
for quite a bit, so that's good.
yeah.
Um, Another question about motivation. What motivated for you to get your first top 10? And what would you say to be your most proud tiering achievement?
Um, well, for the first part, um, the for the first top 10, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
um, I it was mostly because of the School Idol Festival tiering that I had done
Mm-hmm.
prior. I knew that I was capable of getting one in this new Bang Dream game, and I thought, I might just want to get one or two of those. And um, I didn't technically get my first top 10 title until after I got my first podium,
Mm-hmm.
uh, which I still don't understand to this day because uh, Impromptu Wedding Dress was the first top 10 plus because I got second in that.
Oh.
Um, and it ended up being like it was one of like the slowest podiums throughout all of the history of the normal events before those got discontinued and
Mm-hmm.
switched with mission lives. It was
Mm-hmm.
it was a very low cutoff, and I think when you compared my event points from that one to the very next event, which I want to say was "Don't Leave Me, Lisa."
Mm-hmm.
Um, I wouldn't have made top 10 in that one.
Wow.
Um, it was like 10 million or something, and for Impromptu Wedding Dress, I got like 7.5, so it wasn't even particularly close. Um, but uh, I it was mostly just I knew I could from School Idol Festival, and I was enjoying the game up to that point, so
Mhm.
I thought I might as well give it a try, and it turned out pretty nicely. And then the second part of that was the most proud top
Yes.
10,
Yeah.
was it?
Yeah. Or just
Um,
in general, what your most proud title? It could be a top 100. You never know.
Probably not. Uh, I haven't done any flameless tiering, so I don't have any
Mhm.
of those
Mhm.
top 100s. Um, uh, I think it's got to be getting third in Dance Full Blooming,
Mhm.
um, both because it was, I was voting Baby Shark the whole time, but it was more so what it like represented for me because from Impromptu Wedding Dress I, it was like June 2018 up until uh, Dance Full Blooming in April 2020. Um, there were no podiums in between that, and um, that span of time also covers all of my top fours and two of the three top 11s that I have.
Wow.
Um, so there was like I think it was like 655-day gap between podiums. And since the Dance Full Blooming one, everything's just been going very well. Whenever I've been tiering, nothing has gone, like nothing majors come up that's forced me to drop an event. And
Mhm.
not only like being able to finally get back to having another podium title, but just having it in such a unique way when for years at that point it had pretty much been established that pub podiums it's probably not going to happen unless someone who's, you know, willing to do 40 hours on, 3 hours of sleep every day. Like that's what you'd have to do to get a pub podium at that point. And I kind of got lucky, and the person who was on the third podium slot for that event, I think something came up and they had to drop, and um, nobody in that server, as far as I know, really wanted to like compete for third. They just kind of gave it to me. So I mean, I'll take it. But I would say it's definitely the Dance Full Bloom is the one I'm the most proud of.
Okay, good. These next questions are sort of related as well, and also related to each other. Favorite event you've played, and also least favorite event you've played. You might have already answered some of these questions, but
well, I'll start with the easy one, which was the favorite event, and surprisingly, I would say that it is Beating in the Rain, June 2019 versus live. That it was the event where it was Moyo Chaos, or also just known as Gay Horse. It's when that was the event song, and that's like to this day it's like a soft meta song. So it was really good for people who would be trying to do pub tiering, because you have access to this guaranteed soft meta song, and there's also no, like when you play a normal public game, everyone picks their song and it does that little roulette animation where it decides which song is going to get picked. For event songs, it doesn't have that song roulette thing. It just goes straight to you pick your difficulty and then press start. So it might have been even more efficient than being in a pub or a private game playing A to Z at that point, because you're cutting off a lot of the downtime between lobbies, or between songs rather. But that event, it was pretty soon after I had gotten a top 11 in a different event, and was feeling kind of down. But I just had a whole lot of fun in Beating in the Rain. And there's one picture of the top 10 graphs that get made, where it shows, you know, pretty much when everyone in the top 10 was playing. And there's a point in the Beating in the Rain one where I'm in fourth, and the people in the podium spots are all about 3 million points above me, and then 5th through 10th are all about 3 million points below me. So like the entire second half of the event, you can just see like I'm all alone during it. And you know, there was just a lot of fun things that happened during that. Like after the first 24 hours, they had a server maintenance, and what they decided to do when they announced it was put the maintenance time as undetermined.
Oh no.
And they didn't end up changing it for, I think it was at least a couple hours. The maintenance itself lasted, I want to say 4 or 5 hours total. But just having, you know, this 24 hours where at the time, Beaten in the Rain was like by far the most active top 10 versus event. When you look at like the graphs, it's like almost completely vertical. It's very interesting to look at. And then after that maintenance, it all slowed down for like almost everybody. And so there was the maintenance, and it was nice having a pretty meta option so that I wasn't falling behind the podium players because of, getting bad songs and whatever other problems there would be with the public players. It would just be because I'm going slow. So it felt like I was in control a lot more during that event. And also just a lot of the people that were in the top 10 for that event, we just all got along really well. I think that was my first real-time interacting with Lune, and they ended up getting first in that event. And then Nova and Tango, they're also lovely people. But yeah, even though it's just a random fourth place that I had, I would say that's definitely the most fun event I've played in. But when it comes to least favorite, that's a tricky one. Because it depends on what least favorite really means. There have been events where I had to drop out of them, and it would really got to me that I wasn't able to like reach my goals that I had. And then there are other events where like I might have ended up in the top 10, but I just wasn't really having a whole lot of fun playing during them. So I feel like it's easier to talk about that second category. So I would say my least favorite would probably be the most recent Halloween event, because they extended it from 6 days to 12 in the middle of it, and thankfully like none of us played after like the 5th day. So it was we all got like an entire week off. But it still felt kind of bad. Like, it felt like it wasn't a top 10 level performance because all of us had stopped. But I mean, if there's no incentive to play because like no one was chasing, it feels weird. But I mean, I'm not gonna like after the event ends, I'm not just gonna refuse to accept the title in the present box.
Yep. Thanks, ENdori, for giving us a unwelcome surprise of extending events, even though they were already shortening events. But I've ranted about that quite a bit already in the podcast.
I'm glad the extension really helped them get prepared for one of us to come out. So that 6-day extension. After that, everything has gone smoothly.
Yeah. So hopefully, fingers crossed. Bandori 3 will come very shortly for our fans of each band. Afterglow and Past the Palates are coming up really soon. So fingers crossed they'll come soon. Yeah. One more question for you, homie, before we end off. Besides gacha and rhythm games, are there any other things you do, like hobbies and such?
Other than just things that wouldn't be considered hobbies, like life. I'm at this point in my life, I'm just a gamer. I'll play. I got into Genshin like 2 months ago. I got peer pressured into it. But yeah, I'll just play all sorts of different genres of games, but that's really just what I do with my free time.
That's fair. You are based on, of course, your Twitter. You're pretty into Macross, it seems.
I think that's a fair assessment.
So that's I guess another thing. So that's very interesting. So there was another question, which one of our viewers really wanted you to elaborate. on a particular tweet. I'm gonna post it on, I'm gonna put it on the podcast and in front of everyone on the screen. But I don't know. Again, you said that you won't elaborate on it, but I don't know if you changed your mind on that.
Okay, well, the problem is that there's not much to elaborate on because what that came up because I'm trying to remember if I think I tweeted it the night that I had said that, but I was it was very late at night. Mm-hmm. I was in a voice call with Matsuri, and we were just hanging out, and it was getting really late. It was like 5-6 in the morning probably, and we were just talking about anything, and I think we got on the topic of how the perception of me has changed over time for a lot of people, because early on, like 2018, early 2019, a lot of people, a lot makes it sound bad. There were people who weren't a fan of my stances on tiering servers, just not being a fan of, the servers taking all the spots in top 10 and, liking just, playing in public games. And I could be a little confrontational. So it's not like any of this was unwarranted. But after I started to be a bit more active in using Discord and like joining some servers, a lot of people's perceptions of me have changed to where the people who might not have been a big fan of me are starting to like really more understand where I'm coming from and how I think a lot of my jokes were taken literally. When, like, if there's someone you don't like, if they make a joke, sometimes you'll just think they're being serious because you want to look at it in a negative light. So I think where that came from, the tweet, was in reference to how in the early days there were a lot of people who were just like I was very polarizing. There were the people who were big fans and also the people who really didn't like me, kind of like a young Justin Bieber. And nowadays, people don't really talk about Justin Bieber in a negative way anymore. You're either neutral or you like him. And I feel like that kind of shift has been made for most people. There's still got to be some people out there who can't stand me, which it's fine. But I believe that's what I meant, and I didn't elaborate on it when I was asked to, because I fell asleep after I tweeted it, and then I woke up to 6 people saying, "Please explain this." And I just thought it was funny to not say anything about it and not acknowledge it anymore.
Yep, no context. But hey, the fact that, there's, you've already established yourself as quite a big figure in the community, you're bound to have some people who may, disagree, and it's okay to agree to disagree. I'm totally fine with that. And, I think you've taken it quite well as well. It just shows that, you have a lot of you do have quite a bit of respect and good positioning here in the community. We definitely like having you here, and your opinions I'd say are certainly very valid, and whether or not they're controversial or not, it depends on who sees it. But it's always good to have someone like you, being a veteran presence in the community, and just being around and adding some interesting flair and spice to things. So I'm just gonna let you know that this episode is definitely going to have a Justin Bieber song as the title. I just have to figure out which one it is.
I can't really help you with that. I think the only one I'm aware of is Baby, and I would prefer if you did title the episode Baby.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Well, homie, we ran a little over time, but that's perfectly fine. It was a great pleasure having you join the studio today and being featured as a special guest. Is there any other last minute shout outs or that you want to share, or where can we find you on social media and such?
You can find me wherever. I don't have any shout outs. People will be able to figure it out.
All right, well, thank you all so much for staying tuned to the RePHIL studio. Our set has been complete, and we hope to see you at the next RePHIL, and hopefully you all have your cans ready for the next episode, and welcome our next special guest in the future. But until then, thank you all so much for listening to the RePHIL Studio podcast. This is your host, SPPhilos4, signing out. Thank you, everyone, and take care. Goodbye now.
Bye-bye.